It is that time of year again, when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tries to gather the necessary votes to pass a health care bill, in a caucus where many members see that vote as an automatic loss in November. Some would call this a desperate bid to try to save the top agenda item of President Obama, but it goes by another name, March Madness. You see, there are at least 32 House Democrats, and probably many more, who are all competing for a chance to be one of those final 4, or perhaps even final 1 no votes, who gets to avoid political suicide. Now, these 32 House Democrats are all in a pickle because there are currently only 216 yes votes in the House of Representatives based on how they voted last fall. And that's precisely how many they need with the number of open House seats currently in existence. So for each person who wants to flip to a no vote and save their seat, Nancy Pelosi needs to find someone who voted no before and flip to yes. Needless to say, very few opportunities there, and many House Democrats want those opportunities. So basically you can break up the categories of the House Democrats into 4 groups, or brackets if you will. In the East you have a trio of diaper dandies from New York, Scott Murphy, Mike McMahon, and Dan Maffei. Each one of them fairly new in the House, each one of them looking for a chance to get out of that supremely uncomfortable vote. John Adler of New Jersey is facing a long, dark, scarlet night of the soul of his vote, facing an NFL player, John Runyon, in November, most likely. Frank Cradaville in Maryland is facing a terrible decision caught between Pelosi and his constituents. Looking at Glenn Nye and Rick Boucher, 2 Virginia Democrats, they can't be cavalier about this decision because a bunch of hokey slogans are not going to save them in November. Finally, Jason Altmaier, the number 8 seed, is saying that he has concerns about the Senate vote. We will soon find out whether he's telling the truth or whether he's Nittany Lion. In the West, we have the number 1 seed, Dina Titus of Nevada, who will be facing rebels at home if she ends up casting a yes vote. Number 2 is Harry Teague of New Mexico, who may be loco, or perhaps logo, or perhaps lobo enough to vote yes. Over in number 3, the California Dennis Cardoza could be ruined by his yes vote as one of those pro-life Democrats. Number 4 seed Kurt Schrager of Oregon cannot duck this vote as much as he would like to, and Brian Barrett, a retiring Washington Democrat, understands the weighty consequences of his vote. You might even say husky. Over Jim Matheson of Utah, obviously, a Democrat in Utah always faces challenges. If he votes yes, he could lose the Ute vote this year. Betsy Markey of Colorado guaranteed to face a top-tier Republican in November. The question is, will she be willing to be the vote that rams this through? Finally, Walt Minnick of Idaho has indicated that he's willing to vote no already. If he votes yes, his offices may be vandalized. Moving over to the Midwest bracket, the number 1 seed is Bart Stupak of Michigan, who leads his pro-life Democrats like a Wolverine. But be careful, because if he flips, he can only count on Spartan support in his bid for governor this year. Over in Indiana, there's Barron Hill and Brad Ellsworth. Who's your representative? Not these guys if they vote yes. Brad Ellsworth says he wants to be Indiana's next senator. We're about to find out whether that's true. Dan Lipinski of Illinois. We're going to find out just how much fight is in this pro-life Illini. And Steve Kagan of Wisconsin, an unlikely no vote, but he does have his constituents badgering him. John Boccieri of Ohio cannot pass the Buckeye on this vote, and James Oberstar of Minnesota may golden gopher for this bill if he's willing to throw away a lifetime of a pro-life voting record. Finally, there's Earl Pomeroy of North Dakota, already rumored as a potential retiring Democrat. Boy, life ain't easy for Fighting Sioux. Over in the South bracket, perhaps one of the most fiercely contested brackets, Suzanne Kosmas of Florida, already facing a tough road to re-election, being pressured to flip from a no to a yes. You may not see this gator any later than November. Henry Cuellar of Texas, he had better think long and horn about that decision. Mike Ross of Arkansas is going to he may not be back in November, may not have his seat back, may not get a razor back. Ben Chandler of Kentucky, his constituents aren't so wildcat about this bill. John Spratt of South Carolina, already one of the most endangered Democrats, already having voted yes. Insert your preferred Gamecock joke here. Finally, we have Gene Taylor at the number 6 seed. A lot of old misses will be voting against him if he votes yes. Jim Marshall of Georgia, whose explanations for a yes vote couldn't be considered bulldog, they could be considered bull. And number 8 seed, Larry Kissel of North Carolina, could get tar-heeled and feathered if he votes yes. Now, obviously, only a few House Democrats are going to have a chance to vote no, and obviously save their seats. A lot of them are going to be forced to vote yes by Pelosi and end up committing political suicide. But there are consolation prizes. In addition to the well-known Cornhusker Kickback and the Louisiana Purchase, there is the Florida Flim Flam, the California Compensation, the Pennsylvania Payola, the Indiana Incentive, the Illinois Inducement, the Tennessee Take, and of course certain lawmakers' brothers may be appointed to the federal judiciary. Now, obviously, that may or may not be enough for all of these House Democrats, but if I vote casting a yes vote to get this through the House, they automatically qualify for next year's NIT, the Not in Office Tournament.